Hello and welcome to Rando Tech Info. So today we're talking about the best phones of 2020 that have a headphone jack. Like any best of video, there is some criteria that I followed when making up this list. So the first thing you need to know is I'm only covering phones that have come out since August of 2019. I already did a video back in August of 2019 about the best phones at that time with a headphone jack, and you can watch that video up here if you're interested in looking at some older devices, and I would not sleep on that. There's some really great value with phones that came out last year, phones that still run perfectly well. So I definitely encourage you, if you're trying to get the best bang for your buck possible, to check out some of those phones because you might find what you're looking for. Next, when making this video, I tried to focus mostly on flagships. Yes, there are a couple of mid-rangers that made the list, and I'll explain why as I go over the devices. But just so you know, this is mostly a flagship-heavy list. And the reason I did that is because a lot of budget phones and mid-range phones have headphone jacks. They're not quite the unicorn, and they're not quite as unique as flagships that have headphone jacks. So we definitely are flagship focused with the list. Now, I have tried to be as comprehensive as possible with this list, but if I've missed something, if there's a phone that you think deserves to be on the list and it's not mentioned here, please put that down in the comments so other people can learn from it. I will pin a good comment if there's some really good information in it, or if a bunch of people offer some good information with devices that I missed on the list. I will compile all of them into one comment and pin that to the top of the list so we can all learn from each other. A couple other quick things before we get started. I did not mention specific prices on this list because prices are always changing. I do sometimes mention whether the price is high or low compared to its competitors, so just keep that in mind. Also, be sure that you check before you go out and buy any of these phones that it works in your part of the world. I did try to cover phones from all different regions to make the list as complete as possible, but not all phones will work everywhere, so make sure it will work for you. So starting off the list, we have the LG V60 ThinQ. LG's 2020 flagship offers some nifty video recording tools, a big 6.8-inch screen, 5G, and oh yeah, an entire second screen if you think you need one. It offers 8K recording. For a jack enthusiast, you could definitely do worse. Next up, we have the Pixel 3a. Yeah, I know I said this list would mostly cover flagships, and at less than half the money as most of the phones on this list, it does not qualify, but it does take flagship quality photos, even if it only has one lens, and it runs a very smooth stock Android experience. The 4a is coming soon, but the 3a is here now, and the price makes it possibly the best value on this list. Next up, we have the Black Shark 3 series. You can't really call yourself a gaming phone unless you have huge screens, a huge battery, top-end specs, stupid fast charging, and a crap ton of gaming accessories. Fortunately, the Black Shark 3 series has all these things covered. Heck, the Pro version even has mechanical shoulder triggers, and of course, they both have headphone jacks. While we are talking about gaming phones, let's talk about the Nubia Red Magic 5G. Pretend all the same things I just said about the Black Shark 3, I'm now saying about the Nubia Red Magic 5G, except you will have to settle for capacitive triggers instead of the mechanical ones found on the Black Shark 3 Pro. But in its place, you gain an industry-leading 144 Hz refresh rate. Will you be able to tell the difference? Who cares? It's still cool. And rounding out our list of gaming phones is the ROG Phone 2. This phone has last year's specs and last year's internals, but it's still a powerhouse in 2020. The ROG Phone 3 is rumored to be coming soon, so hopefully soon you'll be able to find a deal on this phone. Next up is the Realme X2 Pro, another phone from last year, so the specs aren't the best of the best. But with an 855 Plus processor and a 90 Hz refresh rate, you should still get that 2020 flagship experience for a fraction of the 2020 flagship cost. Next up, we have the Mi Note 10 Pro, another mid-ranger on the list. It's similar to the Pixel 3a because it gives a top-end camera experience at a lower price. It's sold in different markets from the 3a though, so I thought it deserved to make the list. Next, we have the Moto Edge Plus, Moto's return to the flagship front. There's a lot to like about this phone, and its specs hold up well against other flagships of 2020. What makes this phone a little bit unique is its waterfall display, which can be turned off or on in the settings if you prefer that more flat screen experience. Next, we have the Samsung Galaxy A series. Yes, Samsung still makes phones with headphone jacks. And while the A51 and A71 may not have all the bells and whistles and top-end specs of the Galaxy S series counterparts, they do offer good value and are big sellers on the world stage. Samsung is offering these phones in more and more markets every year, which is a good thing. Next up, we have the much talked about Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. Yeah, it's expensive. The most expensive phone on this list, in fact. But if you are looking for professional photography and video features on your phone, you probably are not going to do better than the Xperia 1 Mark II. Heck, it even has its own shutter button. And oh yeah, it also has a 4K screen. Next is the Poco F2 Pro, another value pick. This phone offers top-end specs with a full screen, complete with pop-up selfie camera for half the price of many of the other flagships on this list. It's definitely a compelling option if you are lucky enough to live somewhere where it is sold. This phone is basically a rebranded K30 Pro, so pretend I'm saying all the same things about this phone about the K30. And finally, rounding out the list is the LG Velvet. If the Poco F2 Pro is a top-spec phone offered at a mid-range price, then the Velvet is a mid-range spec phone offered at a flagship price. It's for people who care more about the outside of their phone than the inside of their phone. To be fair, it's a pretty phone, and with it, LG maintains its status as being serious about audio with its inclusion of the headphone jack. Like the V60, it also offers a dual-screen experience. So that does it for my list of the best phones with a headphone jack in 2020. As I said earlier, please, if I forgot anything or left anything off the list you think should be there, put that down in the comments so other people can learn from it. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.